I don't believe there is, Sarah. And, every time I hear Sepp Blatter speak, I'm reminded of the maxim, better to be quiet and be thought a fool than to open one's mouth and remove all doubt. Sepp Blatter is practicing foolishness of the highest order if he believes that he will have another opportunity to lead men and women around the world in the world's most prolific sport. What's important to remember about Sepp Blatter is that at no point today or ever has this man, who is in the penultimate leadership position in world football, taken responsibility for the outcomes of leadership in the game. Paul Kelso is right. We've seen a football team's worth of guilty admissions and indictments around the corruption and bastardization of this world's game. And here, near the end, no one, including the man at the top, can take responsibility for what they've done. And attitude and organization reflects leadership. And we've seen that again today.
Yeah, I mean, he repeated in that interview, didn't he? I can't be personally and morally responsible for these people. Do you think he genuinely believes that he has done nothing wrong?
I think people in power, like Sepp Blatter, tend to convince themselves of certain narratives and surround themselves with sycophants and entourages that pump them full of a self-fulfilling narrative. But we're not asking Sepp Blatter to be personally or morally responsible for FIFA. We're asking Sepp Blatter and everyone in football leadership to be professionally and ethically responsible for the things that they do and the positions that they hold. We're looking to flood the institution with professionalism and with ethical structure. And in that environment, folks like Blatter won't be successful.
Yeah, I mean, how do you how do you turn FIFA around? With the end of the Blatter era, can it reform itself? It hasn't been able to thus far, has it?
No, I don't think it'll ever reform itself from the inside. The last thing stakeholders like all of us in the world's game can afford is to allow another 20 years, another generation of the new guy, same as the old guy. What we need to make sure happens is that as many third parties who are involved in transparency, involved in good governance, involved in democratic systems, get involved and help create a framework which, by its very nature, illuminates the organization to outsiders from the inside. The light, sunlight disperses cockroaches, and these cockroaches have been the galacticos of corruption. We don't need any new ones, and transparency, openness in real time, really setting a new 21st century standard for transparency in sport organizations is what's required to move forward with FIFA.
Yeah, I mean, corruption becomes so entwined with FIFA. It's almost part of the DNA, isn't it? Who is the right person to turn that around? Or is it possible for one person, or does it take many, many?
I think it takes many, many. I think looking for the right person, asking who is the right person, I think that's the wrong question. I think the right question is, how do we create an organization that in every way feels beholden to, feels wary of, feels scared of those that really give power to world football, which is all of us. We need to create an organization where leaders aren't really worried about power, but worried about execution and the cost of not executing well. So that means, institutional things like term limits, institutional things like real-time board minutes, real-time executive board witnessing. It includes things like no more secret ballots. It includes things like making the bid for any particular tournament the technical bid, and that there's no other considerations beyond the technical bid. There's a lot of things we can do, but worrying about getting great people involved, I'm less worried about that than I am worried about getting great frameworks involved in which really good people can come along and do the work.
Paul Kelso asked Sepp Blatter about his legacy. What do you think his legacy is? What state has he left world football in?
Well, I think, his legacy is the logical continuation of the João Havelange manipulation of various nations in order to hold power and do with power what Havelange and Blatter would. From the very first election in 1998, Blatter received votes from nations who weren't even represented by their national football administration. Blatter received vote from Haiti, for example, which was given to him not by a Haiti delegate who could not make the Extraordinary Congress, but who was given to him by a Trinidadian delegate. So from the very beginning of Blatter's presidency, we have seen a manipulation of the rules. We have seen a marginalization of justice. And as a result of that, we've seen the elevation of corruption, moneyed interests, and a commodification of a game that really is our culture. And we need to get back to, football as more daily ways of life and less about the commercialization and commodification of the sport for those just at the very top.